Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Pinay, and in today's podcast, I'll be talking about alienation, feeling lost, far from home. First, we'll begin with an essay I wrote called Helpless, and it will focus on 3 paintings by an artist called Frederick McCubbin and how those paintings really evoke that sense of helplessness and feeling lost. And I'll put the images up of those paintings as I discuss them in the essay, and that, I hope, will help you get a real sense for what I'm talking about in the essay and help you connect emotionally as well to what we're talking about. At the end, we'll also be discussing a workbook lesson from A Course in Miracles, number 189. But let's begin with the reading of the essay. Helpless. Frederick McCubbin was an Australian artist and member of the Heidelberg School art movement during the late 19th and early 20th century. The movement is also known as Australian Impressionism, and I find McCubbin's work particularly evocative of the early settlers' experience in the Australian bush. Isolation is a familiar theme, with several paintings depicting a single person alone within a vast landscape. Of particular note are 2 paintings which struck me when I first saw them as a teenager. Both are titled Lost, and they were composed 21 years apart. The first, painted in 1886, depicts a young girl standing in the midst of towering eucalypts, her head down, the back of one hand near her brow in a forlorn gesture. I remember feeling a connection with this girl. Who can't relate to feeling lost without any idea of where to turn? It's so existential. And then, of course, I was a teenager at the time. Near the lost girl was the lost boy of 1907. He was a more pronounced figure of frustration. I imagined him to have been trudging through the forest with a stick in hand for hours, perhaps days, but all to no avail. This painting didn't evoke the existential kind of loneliness that the lost girl standing bewildered did. To me, the boy suggests that feeling you get when you've tried and tried and tried, but no matter what you did, you couldn't find your way through. The girl's state was a pure reflection of her circumstance, lost and alone in a vast wilderness. The boy seemed to suggest a defeated will. He'd given something a red-hot go and had come up empty-handed. In this, the lost boy reminds me of another of McCubbin's paintings called Down on His Luck. Painted in the period between the 2 lost paintings, we see a nomadic swagman, his billy can upturned, no food or treasures around the fire, his swag piled beside him. Perhaps he's been looking for work, as swagmen did, or hoping to catch a meal. Whatever his aim, he's been unsuccessful. He sits staring into the fire, defeated. I love the relatableness of McCubbin's subject matter and his subtle impressionistic style. The emotional state of his isolated figures is what shines through, poignantly touching the observer. Lost, down on your luck, it all feels so helpless. The theme of helplessness reminded me of Neil Young's song Helpless, released in 1970. It includes fond reminiscences of his childhood home in Ontario. Helpless appears to be a homage to a lost place of security and comfort. In the adult world of responsibilities and commerce, the door seems chained and barred to that tranquil past. Helpless, feeling lost and down on our luck, we feel powerless to change our circumstances. But perhaps our feelings of helplessness are really about nostalgia, a yearning for an idyllic past that, no matter what we do, we can't seem to return to. The following passage from A Course in Miracles speaks to this yearning. Quote, "This world you seem to live in is not home to you, and somewhere in your mind you know that this is true. A memory of home keeps haunting you as if there were a place that called you to return, although you do not recognise the voice, nor what it is the voice reminds you of. We speak today for everyone who walks this world, for he is not at home. He goes uncertainly about in endless search, seeking in darkness what he cannot find, not recognise what it is he seeks. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none contents his restless mind. He does not understand, he builds in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. There is no substitute for heaven." End of quote. We yearn for our home, looking to the world to provide its comfort, love and constancy. But the world can't give us that, no matter what project, product, career, relationship it markets as a solution. Our home and our self reside within. Quote, "No pathway in the world can lead to him, nor any worldly goal be one with his. All roads that lead away from what you are will lead you to confusion and despair." End of quote. Feeling lost reflects the belief that we have separated from God. Feeling down on our luck reflects the idea that God has abandoned us. These thoughts relate to guilt and shame. Guilt in believing we separated from God, attacking his oneness. Shame in feeling incomplete, not good enough for God's special favour or a lucky break. The nostalgia for home is therefore also a yearning for our wholeness, grandeur, and innocence. Quote, "You have not lost your innocence. It is for this you yearn. This is your heart's desire." End of quote. When we feel lost and helpless, we can picture McCubbin's characters and remember that the cause of our distress is that we have wandered away from home within our mind, and the answer is to return, to be still an instant and go home, as the course's Workbook Lesson 182 suggests. This lesson uses the symbology of a child far from home, needing our protection and help to return. This child is both our innocence and our self, a child who seeks his father's house. Quote, "It is this child who knows his father. He desires to go home so deeply, so unceasingly, his voice cries unto you to let him rest a while. He does not ask for more than just a few instants of respite, just an interval in which he can return to breathe again the holy air that fills his father's house. You are his home as well. He will return, but give him just a little time to be himself within the peace that is his home, resting in silence and in peace and love." End of quote. It can be difficult to hear this child's call amid the grating sounds and harsh and rasping noises of the world, as the Course says. When our mind wanders into the world to defend us from shame and guilt, by trying to amass wealth or fame or approval, for example, we have become lost, and as long as our attention remains fixed on the world as containing the problem and the solution, the child's call is silenced. At least when our plans fail and we feel helpless, we might be motivated to stop and reset. When we can't see a way forward, we are left with the only real alternative to dreams of fear. We can remember that our distress is a form of nostalgia. We can abandon our mind's frantic activity and answer our true yearning. Quote, "When you are still an instant, when the world recedes from you, when valueless ideas cease to have value in your restless mind, then you will hear his voice. So poignantly he calls to you that you will not resist him longer. Be still an instant and go home with him, and be at peace a while." End of quote. And that is the end of the essay. Before I look at the course's Workbook Lesson 189, I'm going to put up a picture. It's another one of McCubbin's paintings, and this one is called Found. It was lost for over 115 years, and in 2020, during the lockdown in Melbourne, one of the directors of conservation at the National Gallery of Victoria happened to be able to go through and look at the paintings. There's nobody around, and have a really good look at everything. And he was looking at a picture of McCubbin's called The Pioneers, and with his torch and a keen eye, he thought he could discern something, some images behind the painting that was before him. And so he gave it to the people who do all the x-rays of images. And sure enough, behind the painting of the pioneers was this lost painting called Found. And this painting was kind of an answer to the two lost paintings of the girl and the boy that we saw earlier. And so I'd like to have this image available as we talk about Lesson 189 and the idea of being found by God. Lesson 189 is called I Feel the Love of God Within Me Now. The beginning is talking about how the world reflects what is going on, how we perceive the world reflects what is going on within us. Here's a sentence here. What would you see? The choice is given you, but learn and do not let your mind forget this law of seeing. You will look upon that which you feel within. If hatred finds a place within your heart, you will perceive a fearful world held cruelly in death's sharp pointed bony fingers. If you feel the love of God within you, you will look out on a world of mercy and love. So that's the main emphasis of the first half of the lesson. But the second half is about really going home. And this is what it says. Simply do this. Be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is. All concepts you have learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either true or false, or good or bad, of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. Hold on to nothing. Do not bring with you one thought the past has taught, nor one belief you ever learned before from anything. Forget this world, forget this course, and come with wholly empty arms unto your God. Is it not He who knows the way to you? You need not know the way to Him. Your part is simply to allow all obstacles that you have interposed between the Son and God the Father to be quietly removed forever. God will do His part in joyful and immediate response. Ask and receive, but do not make demands, nor point the road to God by which He should appear to you. The way to reach Him is merely to let Him be, for in that way is your reality proclaimed as well. And so today we do not choose the way in which we go to Him, but we do choose to let Him come. And with this choice, we rest. I thought that was a really lovely way of approaching the idea of going home. God knows the way to us. We need not know the way to Him. He knows the way to us. So in any given moment when we feel despair or a sense of isolation, alienation, etc., we don't need to think, how do I get to God? God knows the way to us. And all we need to do is let go of all those judgments, and He will find us because He's already in us. I hope this has been of some help to you. Thanks for listening, and tune in again. Bye.